Yo, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Flow Live. Real conversation, real change, real healing. It's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Giovanni, host of the Empowered Plates, Empire Lives podcast with
Destini Marie of Black Buffalo Paint 2 Incorporated.
Let's go, Destiny. It's another Monday.
It is another Monday. I'm so excited. I'm sharing the live right now so people can tap in because they need to tap into this good information and resources that we be providing.
They do. And I really feel like this month has really been interesting. Like I've really enjoyed the conversation because you've been bringing in the PMDD. I've been bringing in the adenomyosis because it is adenomyosis awareness month, PMDD awareness month. And I just feel like it's so good to be able to have different experiences shared and then having our community tap in and really engage with us and help us learn and be empowered. And so I'm really excited about that. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. So yeah, thank y'all for coming back and tuning in. So the icebreaker for today, do your periods feel like they take everything out of you? That is the question. Do your periods feel like they take everything out of you? Not just pain. We talked about pain week before last, but like your whole body is just drained. And I'll type it in the comments.
You, first and foremost, you are frozen.
Oh,
no! Yeah, girlfriend, you're frozen. Okay, now you're back. Now you're back. Maybe that's the trick. I need to tell you you're frozen and then it comes right back.
That's not good. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. And I have all my bars.
Do I feel like my period takes everything out of me? Some months. Some months for sure. And some months it's just the period. Some months it's just the luteal phase. And some months it's the whole menstrual cycle. It kind of just depends. I can definitely tell a difference in my body and my periods when I don't do my herbal tea remedy, which I have definitely been slacking on that for months now. And I have definitely noticed a difference in my body. But if I'm consistent with the remedies that I know that work for my body, I can maneuver my period and my symptoms more easily. But when I don't do the things that help me, or I'm not using the products that normally help me, then there's definitely there's some up and downs.
Got you. And I really like that you kind of talk about the fact that you're aware of what your body is going through. Can you still see me? Am I still moving?
Yes, I can see you. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I really like that you talked about noticing a difference in your body when you don't consistently do the things that you've seen have been beneficial. And so like you talked about your herbal tea remedy, but you then also talked about sometimes your period can feel draining in a luteal phase. Sometimes it could just feel draining after the menstrual cycle. Like it's just, you just never really know. Sometimes it just shifts and it varies. And so I'm really glad that you talked about that and you're aware of those things, because that's a big thing about what we talk about on Beyond the Flow Live is awareness. And the more aware we are, the more we can then do that investigative work to try to understand the patterns, the triggers, what's really happening, and then start to explore options that your body may respond really well with. And so I feel like that was really good. I do not feel like my periods take everything out of me. I tried to think really hard about a time where it did. And I honestly feel like if it ever felt draining to me, Destini Marie, I never truly equated it to my menstrual cycle or my period. Yeah. I feel like I was just overwhelmed or burnt out or just tired with life and life's obstacles and challenges, that it wasn't necessarily, oh, my period is on, I don't have any energy to do anything at all. Like I don't think I've experienced that, especially growing up as a dancer. Like every week, so many days out of the week, I'm dancing. I could never think like every single month it comes around and I just don't have the energy for dance. Like, no, I probably didn't like the fact that I was flowing while I was dancing, but never like a lack of energy. Yeah, never a lack of energy.
I didn't know you were a dancer.
Hey, Crystal with the K601, check in with us. We had a check in. Do your periods feel like they take everything out of you? Have you ever experienced that? Yes, danced since before the age of 2. I was a dancer.
Oh, so
That was
cute. I danced
that was
growing up, but I didn't take any classes or anything like that.
Yeah, tap, jazz, ballet, lyrical, all the things, all the
Okay.
things. But y'all, just make sure you tap in, check in with us on the icebreaker. But today we're talking about heavy periods, y'all, clots
Mm,
and fatigue, signs of adenomyosis you shouldn't ignore. And remember, we're not medical professionals, we're not your doctors, we're not diagnosing anything. We're not telling you if you have these signs and symptoms that this is
mhm,
your issue. We're just telling you that these things are not normal and for you to be aware of them and then take action the best way you see fit. And so we're going to get into it. So you're probably thinking like, what is adenomyosis, y'all? Adenomyosis is when the inside of the lining of your uterus starts growing inside of the muscle of your uterus. So now your body has to work harder
You're
than it's supposed to. Did
you're
I freeze
frozen again.
again?
Yeah, okay, there we
Oh,
go. Now you're back.
oh,
Literally, when I
oh.
tell you you're frozen, you come right back. Now you're back. You're back. You're back.
Okay,
You're
you
back
still
for
hear me?
good. Oh my goodness, you're frozen again.
Can you still hear me though?
I can hear you, and now you're back.
Okay, welcome back everybody to my unfrozen. So, y'all,
Are
so
you
now your
frozen?
body has to work harder than it has to when you have that uterine lining muscle. What happened? I'm frozen again. Okay.
Yes, but you were smiling. It was
Okay. So that's why a lot of women just doesn't, feel like it's a period problem because it feels like a full body experience when your body has to work harder than it necessarily has to. And so you might be saying like why your body or your period feels so heavy and draining. It's because it's working overtime. Like that
Mm.
is what's really going on. Your body is working overtime. And so that's why it's so drained. And so when you notice, like, have you ever noticed blood clots? Like, do you know people who actually have
Oh,
noticed a lot of blood clots?
oh, I get them, and I don't even. And I'm glad this is the topic today because I definitely do have some input. But I get blood clots, and I pass blood clots pretty much every month. And I've talked to other girls and women with endometriosis only, and they talk about the clots that
Mhm.
that they pass.
And I feel like that's the big thing, the blood clots, and that's not normal either. And maybe people think, well, it's just fresh blood, maybe it's just showing that what I have going on, and that is definitely something that you want to take notice of. And the pain that also goes with it. Does it feel deep, like pressure, or is it more so just like cramps?
Are you talking about with the blood clots or just in general?
In
With
general when it comes to your menstrual
mm,
cycle.
yeah. So for me, again, I only have endometriosis that I know of. But there was a time where I posted a TikTok and I was talking about some of the symptoms that I have. Well, a few of the symptoms that I have. And one of the symptoms that I was talking about was the fact that some months I feel it's probably about this big and it's just real deep in my mons pubis pelvic floor area. And I can literally feel it from the front to the back. Like
Mm,
I can feel it and it hurts. If it's on and I've had it a very long time. If it's on my left side, then it makes my left leg hurt and it's difficult to walk. And last year, another one popped up, and now that one is on my lower right side, and that side causes my right leg to hurt, and there's pain on that side. I don't experience like these, whatever they are, every month, but I definitely notice when they're there. And then in addition to that, sometimes I feel like a heaviness in my uterus right before my period is about to start. And I have posted a TikTok talking about both of those things and those symptoms. And there was a lot of people in the comments asking me if I have or been tested for adenomyosis. And I'm like, no, not that I know of. I've only had the one surgery, and that was back in 2019. 2019, and I haven't had another surgery since. I've definitely had a transvaginal ultrasound since then, but I haven't had a surgery. So it's something that I do want to ask about the next time I go see a GYN, because I would want to know whether that's what it is or what it's not. And when I did, and I did bring it up the last time I did go see a GYN, I did bring up like this circular type thing that I feel, and that's when she was like, well, there could be endometriosis on your bowels because your bowel is kind of like in that area. But since then, I've gotten another one on the right side, and then that heaviness that I feel, like literally is like the lining of my uterus. I can just tell you that's what it is. There's this heaviness that I feel sometimes.
Wow. That's a lot. And it's so interesting that you're aware of no, it's
Oh
just
yeah.
like you're such aware of all the things that you're
Hmm.
experiencing and what it looks like, what it feels like, articulating that to your healthcare
Yeah.
provider, not knowing what it is. I haven't had surgery since March of 2020, and I don't think I've had a transvaginal ultrasound either since then. And I just wondered, what does that follow up care looks like? Like if
Right.
like for me, the reason why I wanted to have the surgery is because I wanted to know. I wanted to know what was
Hmm.
going on with my body. I wanted to know where this debilitating pain came from. I just needed to know what was happening. And then when they say it's a ruptured cyst, they suspect endometriosis. Like, I've never even heard of that. Let's go have the
Right.
surgery to figure it out before I just start taking things based on what you
Hmm.
suspect it is. Like, go in and see. Let me know what's going on. And I feel like after that, I never thought about wanting to have the surgery again. I just wanted to change my life, and I just wanted things to I wanted to figure out what I could do to be better and to feel
Yeah.
better. And for my quality of life not to decrease, but to still be something that I could be at peace with and happy, knowing that there's no quote unquote cure, and get a better understanding of what got my body into this state in the first place, and how to remove it and shift it from being in that state chronically. And so I'm really glad that we're having this conversation, because a lot of people have normalized blood clots. A lot of people have
Hmm.
normalized heavy periods. A lot of people have normalized that heavy pressure because it's something that normally happens to them.
Hmm.
And it's not necessarily something that they go and articulate to a healthcare provider or just a trusted adult to let them know, because they might be students in middle school or high school, and they might be
Right.
able to tell like their nurse, instead of just going to the nurse to get feminine products, but actually talk to them about the symptoms that they're experiencing, in addition to feeling tired and drained and nausea and all of those other things. And so I'm really grateful that we were able to share some of that, because it's important. It's important that we really understand what's happening, in addition to like feeling tired. And I'm not saying just, oh, I'm sleepy,
Right.
but it's after already waking up, having plenty of sleep, and you still feel like you just haven't got enough rest. That's because your body, again, is still working in overtime. That pain takes energy, that tension takes energy, that stress takes energy. So even when you're sitting still or laying down, your body is still working. When you're laying down in that fetal position in debilitating pain and pressure, your body is still working, even if you can't do anything else but just be still. And that's why your body can feel heavy. It can feel slow. It can feel worn out, because you're not just tired. Your body is compensating for everything that's going on inside of your body that's causing the heavy bleeding, the pressure, and having that uterus muscle lining, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying, growing. And it's like, no, you're not supposed to be coming out that way. That's not what's supposed to naturally be happening. And so I'm really grateful that we're able to say these things, get a better understanding of what's actually happening in our body and what's going on, because it definitely just feels like things are just chaotic sometimes
Right.
inside. And it's just like, how do we address the chaos? And what are those steps look like for us to address that chaos?
Yeah. Yeah, this has been a good month between this topic and then PMDD, and bringing these terms that people sometimes have just never heard before, and documenting and detailing both of our stories and our symptoms and the things that we've gone through, in hopes to bring resources and education, but most importantly, awareness to the community, because both of these conditions, and including endometriosis stuff, I'm going to talk about all three. So, all three of these conditions are serious and they need to be taken seriously. And part of the problem is the lack of education, starting at the top. If we're going to start with the government and their research in women's health, doctors in medical school because they're not trained properly on these conditions, and then society when these conversations of periods and menstrual health are just so taboo and girls don't feel comfortable talking openly about their menstrual cycle. And then all the problem also is at home because parents and loved ones and adults and trusted adults aren't having these conversations with these young girls. So the community and the platform that we're building is actually very great, that we are offering this insight into all of these conditions, and just hopefully that somebody's been touched by all of this and that we are providing resources and tips for young girls and women to take with them to their next appointment, and that they're getting the tools that they need to feel like they can confidently advocate for themselves.
Confidently advocate for those themselves. I think that that's big. I like that you talked about research, and it's almost like, well, who should be doing the research? Who's advocating for the
Hmm.
research? Who is doing the research and then showing up and saying, this is what I found, this is what I saw. I feel like that's very important. So I feel like a lot of us, there are a lot of different organizations and platforms that are dedicated to doing the research and putting the information out there and then
Right,
educating other people. Then it comes to like the doctors. Well, what doctors should be the doctors that really, truly understand what's happening? And people say, oh, well, go to your GYN. It's like, okay, well, you can go to your GYN, but is the GYN the only person that should be able to know what's actually happening if it's a full body, condition? And then it's like, okay, well, who's really responsible when it comes to that? And it's just like, okay, now who are we educating when it comes to healthcare? And it's first starting to make sure that you're educated, at least in your own self, versus not knowing anything at all and just expecting someone else to just tell you what's happening with your body. Society is a big one, Destiny Marie. I think that's the whole reason why you started the blog, the Black Women
hmm
Feel Pain Too blog. That's the same reason why I started Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. I wanted to document those journeys of strength of women who have experience with adenomyosis, endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, fibroids, any health condition that they wanted to share, to let us know what that journey really looked like, what they normalized, what their symptoms were, how their body was communicating to them this entire time, and what it took for them to shift and start doing things differently, and what resonated with their life and their lifestyle. And then you talked about relationships. That one is powerful, Destiny Marie, because I feel like when it came to being in this space of realizing what was going on with my health and what was happening in my life and being able to connect the two, relationships is powerful. And it starts with the
yeah,
relationship with yourself. And I knew for a
right,
fact that I was neglecting so many different aspects of me, loving me, caring for me, showing up for me, putting me first, being of value. And I think that self-love, that self-care, that self-awareness, that had to shift for me first before it could even resonate into what it looked like with relationships with other people and other environments and other things. And so I think those four things that you just hit on was very powerful. And I feel like there's always a way that we kind of lean back into the conversation to allow people to understand that there's more to it than just a diagnosis or
right.
symptoms happening in your body that you really need to own and really take an
Mhm.
investigative look for, but most importantly, give yourself that grace to figure it out and explore,
Right.
because it is a journey. It definitely is a journey. So I think that was really good. I'm gonna just check out the chat, Destiny Marie, because we pretty much did a really good job, I feel like, of talking about those heavy periods, the clots, some of the signs of adenomyosis, and things we shouldn't ignore. Here we go. Crystal can say, heck yeah, the clots used to be real, and I thought clots were normal. Hit the toilet so hard, you think a fish was jumping in a pond.
Ooh,
That
that
is a
one's
visual.
huge.
That
Yes.
was. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Like that's the level of vulnerability, but also realness when it
No, for
comes to having
real.
these conversations. And it's our reality. And
Heck
pain
yeah.
with cramps and leg pain too.
Heck yeah. So I made a TikTok one day talking about I was like, my butthole cramps. And my dad, he follows my business page, the Black Men Feel Pain 2 TikTok page. And when he saw it a couple of days later, he was like, Destiny. I was like, yeah. He was like, butthole cramps. I was like, yes, 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 yes.
I clearly know exactly what you mean by them.
Yes.
I definitely know what you mean by them because that was my form of cramps every cycle.
Mm.
And it was when I was passing, having my bowel movements. That type of cramps that I just thought that was where my cramps was supposed to come
Yeah.
from. People had cramps other places, and I normalized that for so long. Never did a video on it, but definitely have talked about it several times because it's real and people need to know that
Yeah.
that's the way that your body is
Yep.
communicating with you, and
Yep.
that's something that should be shared.
And that is
I feel
very painful.
this too. Yes, self-awareness is key. It is. It is. Here we go. How do you get a person to the state of being self-aware?
Mm. I think it starts with self, honestly. Do you want to recognize and acknowledge your symptoms? Do you want to take the time to discover and sit down and really look at your triggers and your life and your stressors and what you're doing? I really think it starts with self. Like, are you willing to put in the time and the effort, first and foremost, just to acknowledge what's going on and then do something about it? Because you can acknowledge that something's wrong or that this is a trigger or I have these symptoms, but are you going to do any follow up behind it? Because what really is the point of being self aware of your body or whatever stressors there are in your life and you don't do anything about them? So I feel like with that, that's like a two-part combination. Like you really have to sit down and dedicate some time because for endometriosis for me, I'm still very aware and pay attention to my body, my symptoms, my triggers. I'm constantly always aware of it. And so it's not something that you can be self-aware of your body one day and then you feel like you found some answers and then 6 months later you don't have to be self-aware anymore. It's always going to be a continuous daily thing because our bodies are constantly changing. We're getting older every single day. You may have a new symptom, a new trigger that hits randomly. So it really is about, like, do you really want to do the work? Like, it starts with self. Like, are you actually prepared to put the time in to acknowledge and then do something about X, Y, and Z?
I like it. I had first, you have to give yourself permission. Give
Yeah.
yourself permission to even acknowledge the fact that you want to become self aware or that you even want to know who you truly are. And then, two, readiness. How ready are you to really put in the work? Sometimes people like to talk about it, but they don't necessarily want to take that action, that input to get that output result. And then I also wanted to say, remove the shame. You got to be ready to remove the
Yeah.
shame when you want to become self-aware. I think that's one of the most powerful things is removing any and all shame. So then that way you can really just show up to be your true authentic self, and love yourself, imperfections and all, without the shame or blame. And then remembering that love comes in various forms when you're going into self-awareness. I think something that we talked about last week, Destiny Marie, was when you talked about the partner that you had before, a previous partner, and he said,
Mhm.
you're what was the words? I don't want to
He said
miss.
that I get really mean when my period is on.
And that, like, you could have taken that and really, took that personally, but instead
Mhm.
you took that information, that insight, you took it to a doctor, you took it to someone else, and you started realizing that this could be a bigger issue in my life. And it took someone who knew you, was around you, you had
Mhm.
some vulnerability there, to not really take shame or offense into what it is that they were saying to you, and figured out, how can I better myself from this? What do I need to learn from this? And it goes right back into what we spoke about earlier in regards to relationships. So it's very important to, when you are wanting to become self-aware, that you trust yourself, because you're going to need to
Yeah.
trust yourself on this journey. When you give yourself that permission to become more self-aware, but you also have to then trust that the person you used to be, it's okay to become somebody else, and evolve and grieve that person who you didn't even know you needed to let go of to be
Yep.
all of who you are now. And again, that starts with that process of self-awareness. So I think that was a really good question. Thank you for asking that, Crystal Whitaker. Good explanation. Okay. I've been told that, oh, Perry must be talking, or it must be that time. Check the calendar. Do you feel like there's a trend there or a pattern there? Perry mean perimenopause. Man, oh man. I would definitely say check to see if there's a pattern. Check to see if you notice a pattern within yourself, because just because someone else might observe something into you doesn't necessarily mean it's what you are truly experiencing. And so I think that's what's powerful, is really taking the time to self-reflect. So then that way you can be aware of what's really happening, to kind of dig a little deeper and see, because women, our bodies are always changing, and we
Right.
have to continue to evolve with the changing body, because all we get is this one. And so I think that it's very powerful. Pattern notice. Patterns is it's all
Yep.
patterns. It's all rooted in the patterns. All
Yep.
right, Destini, you want to let everybody know what you have for them in the show notes, where they can find you?
Yes. So you can follow Black Men Flipping 2 on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest. Everything is at Black Men Flipping 2. And then my YouTube channel is at Destini Marie. And then you can head over to our website, www.blackmenflipping2.com. You can look at our blog. You can go to our shop page and download our symptom tracker. We also have coloring sheets and a lot of different resources available to anybody who may suspect they have endometriosis, or they are just dealing with heavy periods, or they just want some advice on how to tackle and talk to these medical professionals that don't always like to listen to us. So there are a ton of resources available on the website, so make sure you go check them out.
Yes, y'all. It's your Healthy Habits and Lifestyle Coach Giovanni, and I help women who feel tired, drained, off, overwhelmed, understand the pattern causing their symptoms, so they can stop guessing and get their energy and their life back. Y'all, check the show notes. Go take the Spot Your Triggers quiz, so you can really understand what is the number one pattern or trigger that is truly fueling the disruption in your life. All right, check the show notes. And if you are ready to actually take action and you want some things to change and you want to take that deeper dive, you can go ahead and book your healing breakthrough session. All information is in the show notes, y'all. And don't forget, another episode of the Empowered Plates Empowered Live podcast drops this Wednesday. So make sure you tune in, check it out, and also give the podcast a rating, y'all. Thanks for vibing with us on another Beyond the Flow live. Real conversation, real change, real healing. We out.
Peace out.